Hey everyone, it's Army Gaming. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to Monster Legends. So Season 1 has officially ended of the brand new Galactic era, so I want to take a time to go through all of the monsters that SP released. They released 13 monsters during this time, which I think is more than usual. I think they'll normally do 12, or maybe they've done 11, but now we got a brand new event, right? The Exotic Lands, which introduced a new monster, and then at the start of every season, we have the Era Shop monster, which in this case was Lamuna. So what I want to start doing is at the end of the season, talk about all the monsters that were released for that season, and that way you can kind of get an idea on who to focus on, if any, because SP releases so many monsters that even I forget by the end of the day. Like when I was looking at the Era Shop and the monster available, I'm like, who is this? What does this monster do? I forgot this monster was a thing. So I'm going to talk about every single monster by going through them in the book and give you my thoughts about them, and I also want to talk about their stats and compare them to one another. So let's start with the stats. Okay, so here's the Excel sheet I have created. As you can see, there are 13 monsters. We're currently categorized by the life stat, and as you can see, the monsters with the absolute highest life is Shao Lion, the $50 exclusive Golden Pass monster. Highest life in the game also has the Taunt mechanic. Monster with the lowest life stat is Da Banca. This was what? The maze monster? Not that that really matters too much. As you can see, the average life stat right now, this is just the Galactic monsters, is 141k. So basically, everyone, yeah, like, Shao Lion is way above that average, Debunk is way below that average, but everyone else is pretty much in line with that. In terms of a power stat, if we start by power, Brigadier Holter, guys, the free monster, the free Legends Pass monster, is the strongest monster in the whole entire game with 11,110. After that, we have Calamity Abyss, which is the current bounty up free monster. However, I wouldn't say he's much really of an attacker. If you look at his skills, he's there just to deal a chance to instant kill with like a 25% chance. He has 2 skills like that. And then we have, this is the one I would say is like the main attacker. I mean, so is Holter, but this guy right here, he is the he is the bounty hunt exclusive monster, and he can pack a punch. His skills give him a buff. We have Holter's gun, which can give you utilize extra turn skills. He has a massive 70 damage attack, so he's quite threatening. We also have Copperbeard, the Golden Pass monster, at 11,033. You can see the average power stat is 10,713, which I guess right here it cuts off in Shao Lion. So yeah, everyone over here is definitely above. And then Gleamhill, the Exotic Lands monster, is the weakest of the bunch. And then we start by speed stat. Right now, BioWarmbot is the undisputed fastest monster in the game at 8800. Then we have Salmon Colby at 8712. Honestly, I would say the speed stat doesn't matter too much for these monsters. Lamuna is probably the more interesting one because she can actually deny, and she has a speed stat of 8690. So she's quite incredible, but again, you had to fork out money to buy her. She's the Aero Shop exclusive monster, and then George Lotto over here also can deny, and he has that like new Pierce, right? So both the George and Lamuna. So that's those two monsters. That's how they compare in terms of stats. But now let's talk about every monster individually. Okay, so we'll start with Lamuna. Honestly, from Season 1, this is probably my favorite monster. Again, unfortunately, Aero Shop monster, you have to spend more money if you wanted to purchase her. First of all, she has anticipation, and as we've seen, there are so many monsters that utilize extra turn skills, whether it's turn transferring or whether it's just ET skills themselves to attack even more times. Cherub Cupid comes to mind. He's a popular monster. We have monsters like Ammonia that can turn transfer, Shadow that can turn transfer, even, what is it, Firefool, the Maze previous Blossom monster that was released. He's pretty good. He can buff and turn transfer. So needless to say, having anticipation, super valuable, super powerful. Immune to Possession makes sense because Lamuna can bypass taunts and Megaton monsters, and she can possess. So having Immune to Possession, you don't have to worry about an enemy Lamuna. And Immune to Freeze also actually makes sense, once again, because George Lotto also is able to bypass taunt and Megataunt and can freeze you, but not if you're immune to freeze. At rank 5, that actually upgrades to an Immune to Control. So you have anticipation, you block, you essentially intercept extra turn skills. You can't be denied, which is useful because I'm pretty sure SP is going to be releasing more like semi-pierce deniers. And you start the game out with a random positive effect to everyone at the start of the battle. I mean, as far as Trey goes, definitely one of the best ones we've seen. And again, in terms of skills, she can possess. She can bypass taunt and megataunt. She can target whoever she wants, and she can possess deny. That is awesome. This is my favorite, undoubtedly, from Season 1. Moving on to Salmon Colby. Forgettable monster. You're never going to see this monster in the future. Immune to Bleed, Immune to Possession, Area True Vision. Honestly, who cares? Very forgettable monster, as is usually the case with the creator monsters. Admiral Copperbeard. This is an artifact monster, which is like, yes, he has already a good thing going for him. Then you have Super Attuned, which realistically is not going to be that useful for him. And then you have a Precision, but you have Artifact at the start of the battle. So you can't even give yourself the Artifact. You can't, well, because of Artifact, you can't give yourself the Precision. So this is really more for your teammates. In terms of the monster himself, I don't think he's going to be used long-term at all. You're just going to use him for that upcoming like green event that always involves the golden pass monster and the free pass monster. But forgettable monster. His skills like reset his cooldowns, but very forgettable monster. Brigadier Holter, again, highest power stat in the game. Has the tough, so better than just hardened. 35% chance to not get hit with negative effects. He's also immune to control, so he doesn't have to worry about Lamuna or George Lazo. And area meta weakness. So when you see this, you're like, oh man, he might be like Nishant. Area, meta weakness, and then a metal AoE. Because if you see Nishant starts the game off with magic weakness against the enemy, and then you have a magic based AoE, so he could like really deal some serious damage. Unfortunately, Holter only has single based attacks. Yeah, he only shoots singles. Yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to see much of him, I predict. Moving on, we have Gleamhild. Now, this monster is interesting because it introduced the Phantom Positive Effect, which is basically like Baby Reversion, except you don't lose your extra turn, right? Or I guess your regular turn, because when you're a baby, you skip out your turn. But this monster with Phantom, you're able to attack. However, when you attack, the Phantom disappears. This monster has like 3 skills that can reapply Phantom. So it's pretty cool because you can't be targeted. So very cool, very unique, very interesting. Other than that, you're immune to Blind. You have Gravedigger, which is immune to Possession, Corruption, Nightmares, True Vision. Honestly, the 0 through 3 doesn't matter too much. Phantom Status Caster is great, and then random dots to the enemy is great. But even with this monster having Phantom, also looks really cool and sick. Honestly, I don't see this monster being used much. We'll see how future exotic land monsters are, but yeah. Also, I think this monster was very hard for players to get. I was able to get 120 cells, and that's considering I'm a long-term player. I have Mythics, Corrupteds, Metros, Blossoms. I have all sorts of monsters. So for me, it was easy enough to send out a bunch of monsters, but I can imagine newer players having a hard time getting Gleamhild. Alright, we have Ravenbot. Oh, how I wanted to like Ravenbot as well. You have time stop mechanic, cooldown activation mechanic, I want to say. But again, as far as traits, like, very disappointing. Possession, again, it's like everyone's trying to counter Lamuna. Harden means Possession, Nightmares, nothing too great. I think this monster would be forgotten very easily. We have Shao Lion. I mean, I personally like this monster because it's a taunt monster. SP has a tradition of releasing a brand new era and releasing a taunt monster in the $50 pass, essentially. So you have taunt and hardened, and then double healing, but honestly, stuff like this gets cleansed right away. So the main thing you have that's taunt and hardened. I think what I like is the skill set on this monster a lot. Every single skill, almost every single skill is like heal 40%, heal 30%, heal 15%, random protection, increase your life. Like, so that's what I like about Shao Lion. At the end of the day, he's a taunt monster. You can partner him up with any dodge area, and he's good to go. Bio Wormbot. Bio Wormbot is immune to poison, can block resurrection, and minor blind. The res block is the most interesting thing about him because you can essentially block Uriel bases, and you also have metal based attacks, so that can help you out. But in the long term, I don't really see this monster being utilized that much. Again, the res block is the best thing he has going for him, but other than that, it's nothing too crazy. Dabanka. Honestly, I forgot what this monster even does. Has skill, mirror, tough, immune to stun. He's the maze monster, completely forgettable monster. George. Okay, George I like a lot. This was the Tails monster. Abomination, so you are susceptible to getting OTK'd by Serpentex. Immune to freeze, so this helps out against if you're facing off George Latzos, and this helps against Lamuna, of course. But there it is, Cold Blood. Skills will bypass taunt and megatons. This is why this monster is able to deny essentially whoever he wants. You have Cold Blood as a trait. You have freezing skills, so you can basically freeze whoever you're after. It doesn't matter if the enemy has a Pango, a King, a Megaton Status Caster. You are able to freeze whoever you want to, which is valuable. Unless the enemy has like Phantom or Evasion, of course, or they're immune to freeze. But yeah, I mean, that's what makes him interesting. He can only be at rank 5. You can only be damaged by skills with the fire element. That's also pretty interesting. If this is probably my second favorite monster. Lamuna is my first favorite monster because of the design and everything all around encompassing. But again, she was a paywall monster. This monster was available if you had the gems for it. So, and just so you know, any Tails monster is available with the gems. So that's what I really like about this guy. I'm gonna work on ranking him up, and I'm working on ranking up Shao Lion. Parabot, the team race monster. Honestly, I would have been okay if we didn't even race for this monster. Yeah, I think long-term forgettable monster. Hardened 30%. I wonder why they didn't just give him tough. Like, that's kind of weird, right? Because if you look at this monster right here, this is tough. 35% chance to not get hit negative effects. Hardened is a 20% chance or whatever it is. And for Parabot, SP decided to be like, we'll give him a hardened 30. It makes no sense to me. He does start off with Ignite against the enemy. But yeah, I think overall forgettable monster. Calamity Abyss. So, funny enough, I actually like this monster because you have a 25% chance to instant kill. And you have 2 of those skills. So, maybe you just get lucky and you chip off a coin from the enemy. Maybe you easily OTK someone you wouldn't normally be able to OTK because you got lucky. So I think he's very usable for the free-to-play community. Sometimes you get lucky, 3 out of 4 times you won't. And again, he's a bouncy up monster, so hopefully you get him free, easy, accumulate enough cells to rank him up. Overall, I don't think he'll be used very much, but an interesting monster nonetheless. And then we have Heartbreaker. So this is the exclusive bouncy up monster, which now costs $30. You do have hardened, regular hardened, not a hardened 30%. That will eventually upgrade to a tough. Oop. That will upgrade to a tough. Let's click. Alright. You have self-precision, true vision, and pierce. This is the most unique thing about the monster. The fact that you have pierce, you can attack whoever you want regardless of what they have. And this includes being able to attack the baby monster. Now, or I guess phantom monsters. Now, this monster only has single base attacks. He doesn't have AoEs. But what I will say is, combined with Holter's Gun, if you drop the enemy's HP below 25%, you actually get an extra turn. This monster has 2 skills that will give him a damage boost or a double damage boost. And then he has a massive 70 damage attack. So, combined with Holter's Gun, it doesn't even matter that he has single base attacks, because you could use your skill that gives you double damage, assuming it takes the enemy below 25%, you give yourself an extra turn, and then you're able to hit hard again. And OTK someone, because if you have double damage, and you have pierce, and you have a 7 damage attack, you're going to be OTKing. So he's very good at one-shotting people. I can even see a situation in which you attack someone, get your damage boost, and assuming you use the poison beast, you have a 25% boost. You attack someone, get your damage boost, attack someone else, get your double damage, and finish someone off with the 70. Very powerful. If you would have had an AoE, even a weak AoE, you could have really buffed that AoE. But I guess that's why SP didn't. So it's very similar to an elf in that regard. So I like him a lot. If I would have purchased him, I would definitely work on ranking him up, because in order to get that pierce, you need him at rank 5. So honestly, Season 1, very forgettable monsters. The monsters I can see potentially being used long term. I think I can see Lamuna for sure in war situations. Again, being able to possess whoever she wants. That's the super thing about her. Moving on, Simon Colby, nope. Admiral Cogbeard, nope. Holter, nope. Gleamhill, nope. Ravenbot, nope. Shao Lion, I can see him being used with some with some dodge area monsters. But whether or not he really gets used, I think it doesn't really matter. He has potential to survive just because of taunts, but even then, long term, I don't see him be used too much. Wormbot, no. Debunka, definitely nope. George, I can see him being used, especially in war scenarios with Lamuna, but yeah, other than that, Season 1 didn't have anything too promising. Him I can be seeing used again with Holter's Gun, but overall, Season 1, it's a very slow start to the Galactic era. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about the monsters. Maybe I should rank them, but for the most, like S through F, but everyone would probably be an F with the exception of like Lamuna, George, and Shao Lion, and even then we don't have any like S tier monsters, I would say. But again, the ability to have Cold Blood and Deny is a very interesting mechanic that we haven't seen in a long time. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think. What do you like about this season? What don't you like? Any thoughts are more than welcome. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much, and remember to subscribe.